Hey everybody, Pat Monahan here, and I am in Maui in Hawaii, probably my most favorite place on earth. My guest today is the son of a high school admissions counselor and an attorney who met while campaigning for Vice President Joe Biden. His grandfather was U.S. ambassador to Sierra Leone, or is it Leone? I don't know. His great uncle is Colin Powell. This guy's amazing. He briefly considered a career as a professional soccer player, but ultimately decided on the more obvious choice, join a punk rock band. Pete Wentz. You know him as the bass player and often the most public face of the band Fall Out Boy. Growing up in Chicago, Pete started getting into trouble in high school and eventually found that music was the best outlet for his energy. He got involved in a punk and hardcore scene, and after playing in a few different bands, met Patrick Stump, Joe Troman, and Andy Hurley, and together they became Fall Out Boy. Between 2001 and 2009, they jumped into the spotlight in a huge way, becoming extremely popular, first in the punk scene and then gaining the attention of the more mainstream music world with several top 10 singles and albums. Pete's a guy with a seemingly boundless energy, and in between making records and going on world tours, he found time to start a record label, a clothing company, and a film production company. He even became a director of music videos for Train. And he opened a couple of bars with his friends. He's been deeply involved in a charity organization called Invisible Children. In fact, Invisible Children started a rampage of other artists that got involved. It's a amazing charity. If you guys want to look that up and get involved, it'd be great. They could always use help. Other than his Invisible Children charity work that he's done, he's had a number of acting gigs, including a recurring appearance on One Tree Hill that almost got him into a lot of trouble. He'll talk about that in a minute. And he's raising a child. He's raising an awesome kid. I think everybody knows his name already, but I'll tell you what his name is. It's Bronx, and he's a really cool guy I met a couple years ago. In 2009, the band decided to take a little break, announcing an official hiatus, and after the run they had probably earned a break. So Pete is a restless soul, and he never really stopped working. I guess he and I share that in common. He started another band called the Black Cards while Fall Out Boy was on hiatus, and now Fall Out Boy is back with a new album, Save Rock and Roll, and a whole bunch of new tour dates. Their new single out is called Alone Together, and an EP coming out October 15th on iTunes called Pax-Am Days. Paxam Days. It's 8 punk songs. They recorded with Ryan Adams in 2 days. I first met Pete when he directed the video for If It's Love, and man, I just bonded with him right away. I think he's an amazing kid and a super good guy, and I think that when you see somebody be a parent and you admire their parenting, you can fall in love with them as a human being. I've been a fan of Pete and Fall Out Boy ever since, and Fall Out Boy was playing a show this past summer in Seattle. I invited Pete to come over to my studio and sit down with me for a podcast. We talked about all kinds of stuff. He has a unique perspective on punk rock, pop music, pop culture, style, and everything else in between. So here it is. This week, it's my good friend and great musician, Pete Wentz, on the Patcast.
What do you do when nobody's looking? Nobody's looking. What do you do? What do you do when nobody's looking? Nobody's looking, looking at you. You got to get it while the getting is good. Laugh when you can, cry when you should. You got to give it till the giving is gone. Do what you can, then you move on. What do you do when nobody's looking? Nobody's looking. What do you do? What do you do when nobody's looking? Nobody's looking, looking at you.
Hey everybody, Pat Monahan back again with maybe one of my favorite people that I've ever met in my life. Pete
Really?
Wentz from Fall Out Boy, and Pete Wentz from just being Pete Wentz. You don't always have to be associated with FOB, right? Pete, you're here in my town. You're here in the Seattle area.
I was on, do you know the show One Tree Hill?
Man, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was on that show for like a 3-episode arc, like maybe like 10 years ago or 8 years ago, and I swear to God, in every scene of the episode I was on, they were like, "What's up, Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy?" Like real crazy.
Was this the
I was
same
like, whiskey
show
and
that
eggs.
you didn't show up for the end?
Yes, it was a little rough.
Man,
I
wanted to ask you about that. So when you were on One Tree Hill, when did you decide, man, I don't want to go back?
So they had really great, like the Tempur-Pedic beds that I slept in the hotel were insane. It was like probably the best sleep I'd gotten in forever. But it was weird, like because like they had me like whisking an egg, and I was like 23, so I'm like, I don't know how to whisk an egg. They're like, you got to aerate it more. I'm like, dude, I don't even
know what aerate is.
Yeah, totally. And I'm like, isn't this for TV? Like, are people gonna like not think I'm whisking an egg? And at the same time, there was a script supervisor, and they're the people who are like, you got to say and not if, or whatever, like just crazy like word changes or whatever. And I was like, I'm out. I've done 3 episodes. I don't think I'm going to do the 4th episode. And I called my manager. I flew from North Carolina.
Is your manager's name Bob McLean?
Yeah. So I flew from New York to North Carolina to New York, and I called Bob, and I was like, yeah, how bad is it if I, how much of a problem is it if I miss an episode? And they're like, I was like, yeah, they could sue you for whatever it costs to make the episode.
Right.
And he's like, so just stay in North Carolina. I was like, all right, but here's the thing, I'm in New York right now. Like I was supposed to be on set like an hour from then or whatever. It was cool.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, they were super cool.
They were.
Yeah, they were super cool. And now, our band like never broke Germany. I don't think like it's just
me neither.
It's just a tough spot, whatever.
They speak German there or something.
But at signings, kids roll up with One Tree Hill DVDs. I'm like,
oh my God, man, that's
famous
amazing.
for One Tree Hill there.
We were talking about that you're on tour with the New Politic guys, and those guys are Danish, but they speak really great English. And they were telling Pergo, who's always with me, who was their tour manager.
Yeah, I was with them for a while on the road.
Okay, yeah.
They were telling him that. They know English so well, not because of the school, but because of The Simpsons.
Because of the TV.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Dude, we watched, I watched the Heat Spurs game with them last night. And David was so funny. He was sitting next to me, and like LeBron would come on TV, and he's like, he's a dunker, I think he's a dunker. This other one, he's a shooter. I'm like, I don't know, dude.
Oh, that's so funny.
Like,
So he was coming up with his way of relating him to like, that's the guy we should be watching for.
Yeah, and he was like, I hope the Spurs come back because they were old, but that's just the Danish in me. It's like,
because they're old? Then he loves the train comeback. I love train because they're old.
That's just the Danish in me.
Is it fun being out again, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird in the way that we're playing like small venues, or whatever, and
because when you guys when you don't have to wear those headphones, but when you guys decided to be done for a while, it was 2009, right?
Yeah.
So it's been 4 years.
Yeah.
So 2013. We'll talk about your comeback and everything, and how genius the whole thing has been, because I'm just enamored by the whole thing. But when you disappeared, what were the venues you were playing?
Our last tour, we did arenas, like 9 to 13,000.
You've been doing arenas for most of your career, right?
A lot of it. But, I mean, we did have like before arenas, we probably had about 4 or 5 years of just
grinding and
like there was definitely
and
shows
this is back to the grind. I mean, you're playing like tonight. You play the Showbox in Seattle, and that's like 1,000, 1,100 people.
It's fun, but it's weird. This is the weird part for me, and I don't know if you can relate to it, but I think that in the 10 years, so like when we did it when we were 22, 23, you'd be playing these venues where they're too small, the kids are packed in, it's hot, and I'm like, wow, this is insane. This is like fucking crazy, and in like the best possible way. And I think that the dad in me now, sometimes like I look out in the crowd, I'm like, this kid's about to pass out. This is bad. You know what I'm saying? Like just like where you're like, this is not.
You're not allowed to wear that.
Totally. Yeah, totally.
Don't look at me with those eyes. I might do something about it.
Totally.
You don't know who you're messing with.
Yeah. So that aspect of it's kind of
Yeah. Well, Bronx is 4, almost 5. 4.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 4.5.
And yeah, it changes. I mean, I have a 4.5-year-old, so it does make you look at things differently.
Yeah, it's very I look at it through a lot of stuff. I guess you like just have that like parent filter on your eyes a lot of the time, you know. And
Right.
so,
But this new record sounds a lot like "Fuck Off." I mean, you know, the whole thing sounds like, man, we aren't concerned about what you think anymore.
I think that was an aspect. I think that in making like you make your first record as a band, and like you've been through it. Like then after if any of your records are kind of in any way like successful or relatable, then all of a sudden there's more people in the room when you're like writing the next one, and they're like because like all of a sudden you're like part of someone's like bottom line, you know, or whatever,
Or their vision.
totally
Like you
know?
become part of their vision.
Yeah, and so I think this is one that we were able to do without so many of those mandates because just like nobody, I think a lot of people were looking for like a Fall Out Boy reunion tour, but nobody like outside of our management were really like a Fall Out Boy new record, you know? So,
Reunion tour.
you know,
Reunion tour without a record just sounds like a bad
yeah,
deal.
it's definitely like you can smell pretzels and hear pony rides in the distance.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, so here's the way we're gonna do it. You're between the three-legged race and the pig chase, because the pig chase is the pig winner.
The one
Yeah.
that I was hearing about the other day was, and I really want to enter my kid in this, like, so I want to play a State Fair so bad, is this, the one where they ride sheep or whatever? You know what I'm talking about? It's called like it's called something hilarious, like a lamb chop or something like
good.
really funny.
Oh, I'm glad they're doing that.
Yeah,
to
they
those,
strap
to
the
those
like
sweet
4-year-old on and they just like take off.
Yeah, it's like you don't know who's being tortured more. That's the
Both.
fun part
Yeah,
because
both.
the parents are like, "Oh my god, I thought that it was the sheep that was really going to get their ass kicked, but it's Lewis, you know, or whatever."
Lewis.
That's their kid's name, I would assume. But so you're out on tour doing these smaller venues because and the thing blew out in like 45 seconds or something crazy, right? So you all over, and you already went to Europe.
So when we did the announcement, we did a couple like really small shows, you know, like ones that were just in like our
Like
guest list
400
sold it out, you
Right,
know, or whatever. So we did that in London. I'm gonna go back and do.
I was in London when you were there.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, man, I should go. And then everybody looked at me like, please don't. Because it was so small. I was like, man, please don't ask me to get into that.
I think, because our management was in town because
Yeah.
you guys were there. They were like,
Well,
we were like,
we had a show the night before, and you were on your way in.
yeah.
So
You guys had like a big real show, and our management was like, yeah, we just happen to be in town. But
so-
like, okay, got it.
you know but I like you know, look, I remember working with Butch Walker, and Butch and Jonathan have known each other forever. Jonathan, you guys should know from the other podcast, Jonathan and Bob are the managers of Train and Fall Out Boy and Butch Walker. And I remember writing with Butch to try to come back from the dead with Train, and I was like, man, I need somebody like your guy. And I just assumed that they would not be the right guys for us because, you know, we're like hot AC, and you guys are like, you know, you're like pop punk cool kids, and you know, Butch grew up that way. He's always been the cool kid, and I remember Jonathan eventually said, man, if you get a Pete Wentz haircut, I would consider managing you. And so what I wanted to talk to you about was one of the things that your managers, who are my managers, who kind of have made my career what it is, I credit them with all of it because, like, it doesn't matter if you write a good song or not. If people don't hear it, you're nothing. But what you're able to do that they can't do is you can turn music into fashion. And you have since the beginning. Like, people have been getting Pete Wentz haircuts and trying to find out more about you
the
since you
grandfather of
started,
1,000
man.
bad haircuts.
But no, like it's the idea of like turning music into fashion. And I suppose like, yeah, Lenny Kravitz did it, but nobody's gonna dress like Lenny Kravitz because he's like too flamboyant when he's on stage. But you dressed like a lot of kids felt.
Yeah.
And you just did a thing musically that I think was fashionable. Like, does that just come naturally to you? Because it seems like one of the most distant things from what I'm able to do.
I mean, I think that it's sometimes I feel like the the right place at the right time, you know, like kind of like Tony Hawk with skateboarding. Like if that had happened at any other time, it wouldn't have like made sense. It's like when like the youth movement and the and Bush is president, and like all these things that like
Right.
all click and lock together. But I think that one of the issues with it is it becomes it's really hard to not become a caricature of that. Like I think that when that thing balloons and gets so big, it's like how does like Diddy not stay Puff Daddy, whatever. How does like I think that.
So how do you do it? How do you compete with yourself?
I mean,
Because that's what it is, right? It's like you're competing between what you're bringing to like the way people view you and your own like art and credibility and what you think is cool.
yeah. I mean, I feel like but I feel like one of the problems is when all the noise you make besides the music gets too loud. That's like all you end up talking
Man,
about.
what a great
like,
way to put it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and if the songs aren't as good or aren't as relevant or relatable, nobody's gonna talk about them.
To me, one of the perfect examples of that is The Voice. Like watching the guys,
You guys did the finale.
not that was yesterday. But like we did
That's such a train.
we did a
No.
No,
That was like ancient. It
No,
was
no,
like
no. I'm saying
yesterday we did the finale.
actually
Like,
yesterday
we're
was the finale of The
okay.
Voice,
But you
of
tweeted
this
something.
season. No, because I'm friends with some of those people, so
okay,
I was like,
cool.
"Hey, man, check it out."
Okay,
so,
cool.
but no, they had
Season 1.
we were
You were
on
on
we were on season 1 and 2, I think. I was, but anyway, what I found about the panel is watching the
I want to
panel.
be trained so bad.
What's that?
You're like, season 1 and 2 we did. Had to take a year off on season 3.
Well, I'm
We were
just
with
like,
we were with the Kennedys.
No. See, you guys just did the show, and but when you see the panel, and some of them are probably your friends, like I find it very, some of them are my friends, and I found it strange and very interesting how fame itself and familiarity did not make them sell records. Like watching the difference between what Adam did with Maroon 5 and what Christina did with her career was monumentally different.
Totally.
And so everything you're saying means everything, because what they were doing was they were making a lot of noise that wasn't musical. And then when it came music time, not all of them showed up.
Totally.
And so their whole thing was different than each other's.
Yeah, and I feel like, man, like because people ask all the time, like I think Leor Cohen said a great thing years ago to me. He said, he's like, never chase a song, always chase a songwriter. And like, there's that, like people will always ask, like, why does this react and this not react? And there's sometimes on some levels there's like an intangible, like where it's like, for some reason, this song or this artist just always relates and always reacts, and the other artists, like sometimes, like you get the best songwriter, you can get like 5 guys from Sweden or whatever, and it's like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and it's like I think that the like pop culture or whatever, like for whatever reason, some people are like tied into it, and some people are like relate to it and understand like the zeitgeist, and some people, and I don't even know if people always know that they are, and then some people don't. Like I feel like even looking at the difference between like what like Kanye and Jay-Z are doing right now is like a really interesting thing to see. Just like two.
Which one making a bigger impression on you, and why?
I think that they're like two such very different reactions. I think Kanye doing a record where he's doing really pretty much no press, no radio.
But he doesn't need to. He just does stuff that makes people want to know more.
He's a check it out artist. Like you have to
Right.
check it out.
Yeah.
But in listening to the record, I think that when I listened to it, I was like, and I think that he made some choices to alienate Kanye West fans, like to say like, I don't think you get this. I don't think you understand this art, and if you don't, like, don't let the door hit you in the ass.
Wow.
And I think that music and pop culture need Kanye West. It's really important because that's like what progresses art, whatever. I think the Jay-Z thing was really interesting. I love Jay-Z. Like he's somebody I really look up to and is really inspiring. I think that to me, it seems like Samsung is doing better off the collaboration than Jay-Z so far. Like I feel like Jay-Z's credibility is like miles long. You know what I'm saying? Like anytime
Right.
Jay-Z does anything,
you
you're
can
like, oh,
chip
it's cool.
away at
Yeah,
it for
yeah.
a long time.
And I think that Samsung kind of was like, it's like right now it's like Samsung. It's like Jay-Z featuring Samsung. You know, like
This
I
is
feel like
for people that don't know though. This is everybody that has like a Galaxy S3
it's getting.
is getting the new Jay-Z.
Yeah, to me,
Like automatically.
yeah, you get it for free, like 1 million copies or whatever. And I just
Is that
think-
why you went and got a Galaxy 3?
I did? You know, I was like, you know, I need this. I need to make.
I need this Jay-Z record,
Jay-Z
but I don't want to
for
pay the
free.
$10
Yes.
bucks.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I just wonder if like if he'd put out a song first, if he'd, I don't know, it feels like Kanye's really young. That like what's happening there is like really young and wild and feels kind of punk rock and weird.
Right.
you
He's
know?
always been punk rock. You know, one of the coolest things that ever happened to me is reading in Rolling Stone. They interviewed Kanye West, and Kanye said, when I watched Train perform on the Grammys, I was like, that's what this shit's about.
Oh wow,
And I was
that's
like,
awesome.
man, I don't think that if I asked it, if I could talk to him, he would talk to me. But I love that he gave me 5 seconds of like Kanye West, because
Totally.
I think everybody looks up to him because he's punk rock.
Punk
like
rock.
it doesn't matter. Like
I mean, the guy who could have made like soul sample songs, he could have printed that to the end of his career and
Yeah.
just decided not to. I thought that was interesting.
yeah, he's really an empowered artist.
Mm-hmm.
And he's empowered by the culture that cares. You know, because there's a lot of culture, there's a lot of the parts of the world that just don't give a shit.
No.
Like, they don't care if you're out being a rebel. They got stuff to do and kids to take care of. And,
Totally.
But youth, even when youth grows up, there's a certain amount of them like you. Like, you're growing up, you have a child of your own, but you still care about art and music and what's going to happen to it. And Kanye is kind of doing his own thing, and it's going to be interesting to see where it lands.
Totally.
And but hopefully it won't land. It'll always be like floating into some weirdness, you know. But it's
I think
cool.
it is.
And just to call your album Yeezus or Jesus, what is it?
Yeezus.
Yeezus.
So crazy.
Which
Back it.
is it because the J is he's saying like what is he doing?
I think so. You have like Wheezy, which is
Okay.
Lil Wayne. I think Yeezy is like his short
Okay.
version.
So he's Yeezus.
Let me think what yours would be.
That's amazing.
Spanish
P-
pronunciation.
P Meezy would be yours, I think.
P Meezy. Man, that sounds terrible. What's yours?
P Weezy.
Oh, I got it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't fit in that group at all. I'm not cool enough to be in it, and I'm kind of glad about it because you got to keep up with it all. There's a lot of work to being cool.
The craziest for me is the the minute you have to ask about one of them. You know, like I would have to like ask your daughter, be like, "Well, what is?" Oh, this one blew my mind. RBF,
Oh man, I have no idea what that is.
resting bitch face.
What?
Like when you're your like normal face is like bitchy looking. Like
Wow, that's
Is
amazing.
that a real thing or no?
I don't know, but I'm gonna use it.
My daughter's here in the room. She's 15 and she's about to turn it into a real thing.
Totally.
Yeah, so we were just talking about prank week. My daughter's into prank summer, where she's taking turns with her friends pranking each other. So we got toilet paper last night, and she gave them an idea, like, wouldn't it be terrible if, like, we put one of your phone numbers in Craigslist and said, hey, we got concert tickets to see Bieber or whatever. So her phone number ended up in Craigslist today saying, I got One Direction tickets. So that's going to be fun to deal with that at the end of the month with Verizon. But there were a couple of things I wanted to ask you about that I'm not sure that everybody knows about. But, you know, it's weird that your parents you're from Chicago, which is one of my favorite places in the world. I think because it's like the biggest little town in America, you know, it's still like that.
Totally.
But your parents met through campaigning for Joe Biden in the 70s. Like that. Is that real?
That's totally real. Yeah, my parents grew up on the East Coast and are like super liberals, kind of, you know, whatever. Like they believe in the system and everything, but they're like very lefty and worked on senatorial campaign for Joe Biden, you know, or something in the 70s. And so that's how I came to be.
And how many of you are there? You have siblings?
I do. I have a brother and I have a sister.
What do they do?
My brother is an artist, does fine art, and kind of works for me. He's 6 years younger than me. So
Is he out on the road with you, or does he do stuff in LA with you, or
yeah,
what?
in LA, he like lives with us in LA, which I always think is funny because like we'll be we drive like my kid to school in the morning, you know,
Yeah.
whatever, and I'm like how flamboyant is it that like your uncle and your dad are like, hey, here, you're ready for school now?
Yeah.
Like it's just so wild. Like I can't picture my dad and his, like he doesn't have a brother, but I can't picture my dad and his like a sibling doing that.
You got to turn it up though, and you got to start wearing like robes and PJs to take your kid
There's
to
sometimes
school.
dueling Uggs in the morning.
Yeah.
And then my sister is she went to school to be a social worker. She's kind of like, my sister's like
She's gonna follow down the line of your family then. Your mom and dad.
yeah, I think so. I mean she's interesting. She like definitely like put my life back together when like 3 or 4 years ago, like when I got divorced and everything. She like guided me through life, which was really like, you know, like when you have those people that are just
And she's
like,
younger than you, but she's pretty
like,
focused on
yeah.
like what's what.
Yeah, and
Because
she's,
it can get weird out here, right?
Totally. And she like every once in a while, like I always like say it like, I'm like, are you like therapizing me right now? Because like we'll be hanging out and she like
Is that a
asks
word,
those-
by the way?
It's definitely not a word. You know?
Okay, cool.
But she'll it's just word as much as like resting bitch face is. I
Yeah,
guess.
right.
But she you know, like where you can ask, they ask the right questions and you like figure out stuff about yourself. She has like
Yeah.
that.
Man, that's genius. Those are hard people to come by. Like that don't want to give you advice. My mom was like that. She would never. In fact, my dad would talk about too. Like he never gave me advice because he said everybody goes out of their way to give you advice, but if they would just cut you a check instead, it would save us all a bunch of bullshit.
Totally.
And but I think that's very unique that your parents come from this political background, and then you went to college, but you decided to move into music instead of I don't know, what'd you go for, like political science yourself
political
as
science.
well?
Yeah.
And then my daughter's gonna be into this. I don't think any of us knew that you were like a really great soccer player.
Oh.
What kind of soccer player are we talking about here? Did you have a chance to like play in college and stuff?
I did. I played in college. I played in high school, and it was kind of like I feel like if there was anything that I was, you know, like you have like innate talent. Every human has like innate talents that you're like, well, this is like you were probably born to sing or songwrite or something, you know, or maybe not. Maybe you have like a secret talent that I don't know about.
I don't have any secret talents.
Okay. Well, like I think that soccer is like the thing, like the connection with the ball or whatever is like my. If I had like one talent, that's really like bass playing and all the other stuff is a little more foreign to me.
Wow, really? So if you and I went to like a Grateful Dead concert with a hacky sack, would there be a group of people? Would there be a group of people
I'm
watching
picturing it
you
right now.
like, oh my god, dude, this guy's insane? Are you that guy? I wished my whole life I could hacky sack, man. I'm like watching a guy try to hacky sack a bowling ball. It's just bad.
Yeah, we could do. We could definitely do all right at a Grateful Dead concert. And the trick with hacky sacking, really, the real trick is it was probably the trick in life that like, you know, like Ronald Reagan knew, like all the greats know, is that it's who you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Like hacky sacking, like if you surround yourself with great hacky sackers, it doesn't really matter. Like as long as you just need to touch it every once in a while,
Right. And then
And
you
they all
look
and you
like-
look great. They'll make you look great.
Man,
Yeah.
that's an excellent idea. I'm going to need you to bust out some moves at the mall later then with me. Okay, so here you are on tour, and I'm going to ask you a few questions just to wrap it up so you don't have to stay here all day. But so you're out here on the tour, then your next plan, and man, because I know that you have so much to do with this, I got to ask you with Save Rock and Roll, like it's
crazy.
a big title,
So crazy.
and the picture on your album cover, I remember I got to see it like a week before it came out, and I was like, that is the coolest picture I ever saw. Like one of your fans sent you that or something? I mean, that's a crazy photo.
I feel like, yeah, I mean, I came across it on on the internet where you find everything else, and had like a bizarre connection. It's these, it's a photo called "The Punk and the Monk," and it's these. It was originally supposed to be like an inspiration piece, and it's like
The Punk and the Monk.
Yeah,
That's
and so it's like a little
cool.
punk kid holding hands with his brother in Burma, and I just thought it was wild because the brother's like dressed as a monk, and I thought it was wild just in the way that I think if you showed most people who were like familiar with like Americana or whatever the picture, it seems like the punk brother's probably the like rebellious one or whatever. He seems like he's forward thinking,
Right.
And I just remember like watching what was happening in Myanmar or Burma, and it was really like the monks led the change, the recent change.
Right.
It was like the red robes that were like kind of did everything, and I thought it just seemed challenging to me, and I also really liked how they were kind of like lightly holding hands in the way that like there's like a brother connection that I like definitely feel with my brother and I feel with my band that you just can't. It's hard to describe to other people, like the connection you can have with a sibling where you like hate them but you are connected forever,
Right.
whatever.
But it seems like from your description of your sister that relationship in the photo is more you and your sister than it is you and your brother, because your
Definitely.
brother is probably more like you than your sister, but you may end up changing the world in a way through your art because your sister is so focused on maybe what is genuinely powerful
Yeah,
and can help
totally.
you through that. Like
Yeah,
she changed your
totally.
life 3 years ago. Like
I'm the guy
that's
smoking
not
in
the
the
only
picture.
time. What's that?
I'm the guy smoking in the picture.
Yeah, but I'd really love to podcast your sister. I mean, somebody who can like help an artist through the difficult phase of like divorce and even like, man, what am I going to do next? Like when you directed the If It's Love video for us
Which I was in the Fox Theater 2 days ago.
in Oakland. Yeah, right.
Which is
It's
cool.
so cool,
Yeah,
right? You
so
got to
cool.
do I love that place, man. It's such a great place. And my son was there. He was blown away, by the way.
Oh, wow.
He was like, man, I'm not going to get to see the guys, but I was just so impressed. They haven't been doing this for 5 years. They were incredible.
Oh,
And
wow,
he
that's awesome.
is a very difficult guy to please. I don't play him any of my music anymore because he's like, next, that one blows. So I was like, oh, my ego is terrified of you,
I feel
but-
like it's good for that. What you were just speaking to is just really funny. Like, and I've just had my first like interactions with it where like, like I threw out the first pitch at a Dodgers game maybe a month ago or something.
Yeah.
And brought my kid and I was like, oh, this is gonna be so epic. Like you
Right.
can be on the field with me. Like,
Right.
and I was just like picturing like how I would be with my dad or something.
Sure.
He was like, on a chocolate milkshake, and he just went right up to the suite. He was like not having, like didn't care, and it was humbling in like the
Wow.
best possible way. Like where I'm like, like I'll pick him up, I'll pick him up from preschool, and like I drop him off at preschool, and all the kids at the preschool, like I'm kind of cool, because like I know about all the superheroes,
Sure.
and like I high five them and whatever.
Right.
And I pick him up, and his teacher's like, all the kids drew tattoos on themselves today. They all thought it was so cool, except your kid. He did not draw any tattoos on. Did not think it was cool. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, he's like the one who's like, not cool. I don't.
You know what though? It sounds like he's more like a leader than anything. Like he's leading his own little way.
Yeah, and
It's
probably
cool.
will rebel with like math or something that I know nothing about.
That's exactly right. And you'll be like, dude, come on, let's go get your first drink.
Totally.
I don't think so, father.
Yeah, totally.
I have to go study calculus. You knew that. James and I are on our way over there now because we're starting up a tech company on Friday.
And Lewis, he's still mad about that damn sheep.
The damn sheep ride. So I wanted to finish up. Man, there's so many things I want to talk to you about, but I'd love to, like, later on when I come to LA or something, or whenever you and Patrick have time, and maybe we could do a podcast as a band, or your whole band could do it, and maybe we could run a song or two or whatever you want to do. But I find you to be one of the most interesting guys out there. But it's also because you're you're like Chicago in a lot of ways. You're a big deal, but you treat people like Chicago treats people, which is, oh man, shucks, we're just a big old awesome city, and you don't take it too
Thanks, dude.
seriously.
I mean,
and it's a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is understanding like the ride that you're on. Like I feel like we've seen awesome stuff. Like been on TRL and cool
Yeah.
stuff, and then but at the same time, like I remember taking 3 or 4 years off, and I was like to Jonathan to manager. This is
Yeah.
like the saddest. You should ask Jonathan about this. The saddest conversation ever. Where I was like, I don't get emails anymore. Like, what? Why do I not get emails anymore?
Yeah.
And he
It's
was
scary. It's scary,
and
right?
Jonathan, you know Jonathan, so he was like so sweet about it. He was like, "Yeah, people don't really email that much anymore. They like, you know." And I was like, "People don't."
Oh no, they
email
shut the
anymore."
internet down, bro. It's fine. Man, that's
So
amazing.
How sad of a little.
You know, I had to go through the arc of Jonathan's niceness. You know, where there was like he was super sweet, and then the change came because I found myself like in old habits of complaining. Like I used to not be a fan of other people because they were in my way, and then he really got to me with one statement, which is, "Man, Monahan, you think about the wrong shit." And I was like, "I'm so dumb right now. I just want to like crawl into myself and not like." I felt so embarrassed because he was so right. I'm
Yeah,
so
I mean,
foolish.
he's like a little Yoda. I feel like I definitely gotta like.
Yeah.
I spent my entire 20s worrying about the little things, all of them.
Right.
You know, like, oh my God, like they can't use our music in this movie. That'll be like, you know, and it's like,
Right.
one in particular. I can definitely say this one is like, we were putting we had a song, Sugar We're Going Down, requested to be in the Chipmunks movie, you know, and they were like, maybe you can do like the voice of one of them, you know, whatever. And I was like, oh, I don't know. This is like paining me, you know, like kids will be, you know, like this is like quote unquote selling out, you know, whatever. It's like cut to like 5 years later and I'm watching Chipmunks movie like every day with my kid. It would be nice to know that like I got paid to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like it would be nice to know like,
Man, I could have been a damn chipmunk.
you know, like, oh, okay, I gotta watch this stupid movie again. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I got paid to do it. You know?
Right, exactly.
And it's like all those little things because it's like nobody would have cared one way or the other. No one cares. You know?
I have watched those movies. If I hear that voice, I can't even believe that. But anyway, it does well. So I'm just going to finish up with these. I'm going to try to do it quick. Jonathan doesn't think these are the best questions in the world, but my wife and I discuss these questions. I appreciate them.
Cool.
I'm going to try to make them better. But for now, you get the shitty version.
Okay, got it. Love it.
All right. What are you afraid of?
What am I most afraid of? I think that I'm most afraid of. I don't know. Death freaks me out. Just in
Death?
general. Yeah. Just the idea of like nothingness or something like that freaks me out.
Yeah.
From watching, mortality. I guess like in the way that you're like. I guess it's from realizing like, whoa, 10 or 12 years went by like in a flash, like when you tour all the time and stuff, and I'm like,
Right.
whoa, like my dad looks older and stuff, you know, like just stuff like, I'm like, my dad's starting to look like my grandpa, you know, or whatever, and like that's
It's so
just
true, man.
freaky, you know what I'm saying? Like that shit.
And there's only one alternative to aging.
What?
Death.
Yeah, that's it. That's
there's
the
only one way
yeah.
out, you know, and that's
It's the
yeah.
worst. Yeah, it's freaky.
What are you best at?
Complaining, probably, honestly.
You know what I was going to say? Man, I hope complaining is on your list.
That's probably what I'm truly best at.
What's left to do? What's left to do for you, like as a man, not really as an artist, or as an artist, whatever. Like, what's left? What do you feel like is maybe the void? Because I mean, this is one of the other stories about like that we get being under the Crush management umbrella is I get to hear these stories about Sia, who sounds like an incredible artist, and she went to the Golden Globes, I think, with Jonathan about
probably.
a year and a half ago because she's written 300 hit songs, and so she didn't win the Golden Globe. And he was like, oh, I felt terrible. So I was like, I'm sorry you didn't win. And she said, don't worry about it. It wasn't going to fill the hole. And it was like,
super.
man,
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
I mean, I like the one with as a man. Like, I feel like there's stuff that like I want to like build real things, like tangible things, like a table or something like that. You know, like I want to do like
You do a lot of great stuff, though. I mean, you know, what we didn't get into is like Invisible Children, man. You started a trend of a lot of artists wanting to get involved in that, and that's a big deal, man. You like started a massive.
I don't know. I feel like the movement probably started it. We might have been part of it, but yeah, I no. I mean, like I just feel like real tangible things, like things that you know, like I just remember about, you know, growing up with my dad and stuff like that. You know, like even like when you take I feel like there's like a thing that you, when you're an artist or you're in a band where you like that's gotten some success, where you atrophy like basic things. Like I remember like the first time I went to an airport by myself in a long time, and I was like, I don't even know how to go through an airport. Like I follow a backpack through the airport, so like.
Right.
I remember like calling my brother and being like, like, how do you know like everything? And he's like, you go to like, are you like insane? You go to like you look at the screen and you go to the gate. And I'm like, I don't know, like like, and it's like I haven't done my own laundry in forever. And like that stuff is like but that basic stuff like is like stuff you're programmed to do as an adult human. If you don't do them ever, like you.
So who washes Bronx clothes?
Well, we have a cleaning lady who does some of that stuff, but like honestly, like when with kids, like I'm
gonna teach you how to do this shit after this podcast.
No, but like
man.
I feel like the greatest thing about kids is that at like 2 a.m. when he barfs in his bed, that's me. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no like that, so and kids are like 24 hours a day kind of thing, or whatever, and so.
That's true.
So I do all that stuff on the on the regular, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get it. I mean, if my children vomit in the middle of the night, I pretend to have a seizure, and I go, "Baby, you got to take care of that because I'm having another attack.
I'm having an incident."
Or I just pretend to vomit with my child, and then I'm like, "Oh, you better take care of both of us."
Still asleep.
Yeah, I'm still asleep. Okay, so the most memorable personal and professional moment for you. It doesn't even have to be like forever. It could be recently, something that was big for you. Man, can I be your one moment of like professional? Like, did you think that people were gonna care as much as they do about Fall Out Boy when you started this whole thing up again? Because I remember when we came back, it was like I was filled with fear. Like all I thought was, no one's gonna care. And there's nothing that's going to hurt me more than that. Like, did you have any of that? Or were you like, cool, let's go?
I think it every night. And it must be a bizarre thing. I think every night I'm like, I think this is the night where they're not going to show up,
Wow,
and it's all done. And I had, and we made like a little documentary when we were making this. And this is bizarre. This is like super real for me to tell you this. And it shows up in the documentary. There was like, we were talking about it, and I was like, maybe it's okay if nobody cares again, because like maybe it's weird because, maybe you can relate to this, but like having people care so much is like an immense stress or pressure, like where you're like, you don't want to let people down. You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
it's
right.
like
you're there. You become responsible for their perhaps joy,
totally,
or filling that thing that you've been filling.
And how bad is it if you
let them down?
And
so you might as well get it out of the way.
Yeah, and so my thing was kind of like, well, if they don't care, then like it's all good. And like I've done it once, and I've seen all this crazy stuff and done way more than like some shitty dudes from the Midwest should ever be allowed to do, or whatever. Like seen the world on a record company's dime, So like, but then. And we talked about this, and I think this is like an interesting thing that artists have, because a lot of people were like, "Well, how does it not get bad again? How do you guys, how do you not get to the point where you're going crazy and stuff like that?" And I was like, and I thought about it, and I was like, like guys who are like buzzer beaters, like a Michael Jordan or something like that. So they do that. So that they're the guys who get the ball like 15 seconds. Yeah, 15 seconds, like 10 seconds left in the game. Like even like
it happened last night.
Yeah. They get the ball. Everyone in the stadium knows they're getting the ball, and they still have to defy odds and score and win.
That's right.
And I thought that there's something probably in them inherently that like, because Michael Jordan does that, maybe he's like not the guy that holds the door for you. You know what I'm saying? Like the thing that you love about him is there's probably deficencies in other areas. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like that person's that competitive or whatever. And I think
but like not with Tiger Woods. He's like a great golfer and really great at like relationships and everything too. With girls from Perkins.
Yes, truth. But like I feel like that's probably the same with artists or bands or people who are making stuff that you can relate to, that there's probably deficiencies in other areas, and that's like why you get into it with each other.
I think about that a lot. Yeah.
And to me, like hopefully there's things that like for me having a kid, like you think about, at least I think about other people and like I'm processing on a different level. And
Or has this become part of your life as well as like you know like what your parents knew when they were protecting you and like you got to be home at this time or whatever even when you were an adult they still worry about you. They still want the best for you. They want you to be the president of the United States, the biggest rock star in the world, and they win a gold medal on the freestyle swim. You know, like all of that shit. And none of it's going to happen, but, or maybe perhaps some of it. But now that you know parenting, when you are dealing with your band stuff and something happens, now you can go like, man, that shit just doesn't even matter.
It doesn't even matter.
Like I got other things to worry about now.
Yeah, and I feel like my fuse is a lot longer when I'm like,
cool,
dude, I'll put all you motherfuckers in timeout.
Right.
You know, like it's all good, dude. Like none of this stuff is.
You were sitting in that damn chair.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you in 4 hours. Yeah, that's true. I'll put you all in timeout. I'm gonna start doing that, man. Thank you for that. Okay, so that was perfect, and. I'm going to assume that, having a baby is like your moment of like greatness.
Definitely. I feel like that's the biggest moment. My recent one that was the biggest personal one was like my kid was playing like a video game on his DS or whatever, you know, on the Nintendo, and we're just in the car and he goes, I'm awesome at this game. And I'm like, wow, this is like, I never imagined that I would create a human that does stuff like that. That's so awesome.
Yeah. My 4-year-old yesterday dressed up like some of the girls that were on The Voice and went and got her little microphone and stuff. And she just had her own time. She didn't want anybody to watch her or anything. She just wanted to do it herself. And then some of my family was over there. They were like, were you like that as a kid? And I was like, no, I was afraid to even talk. Like, I just had all this stuff happening inside of me. But, like, kids now, like, they're so okay with expressing themselves. It's pretty awesome.
Totally.
It's like a lovely new adventure that they're not judged for on every... I had a lot of siblings, so if I said, I'm awesome at this game, they would have stepped on my face. You know what I mean? Are you awesome at this game? Getting out from under my foot? Like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's all great until it's in my like Twitter @replies where people are like,
yeah,
let me give you my opinion about everything.
That's
like,
tough. And you read them?
I read them, but I'm not fazed by them.
Yeah,
they don't like it used to bother me.
Me too.
It just doesn't matter. It's like the minority is so loud, loud.
I know, man.
The shit that gets said on the internet versus like in person at the airport when like the hand's shaky and they're like, I just need to get a picture with you for my brother. You're like, oh really? Your brother like is whatever. Yeah. So that stuff doesn't. It used to bother me. It used to torture me.
I sometimes I'll tweet the negative ones because I just think they're really funny, but I won't tweet them if they're mean because mean sucks. But funny is funny.
Yeah, totally.
Like somebody the other day said, why do Train and why do things like Train and George Lopez exist? And I was like, that's kind of genius. I agree with you about most of that statement. No, but it's just like, whatever, man. People, when you can do things anonymously, people have a lot of courage.
It's very empowering.
But then one of the things that I think is a good reminder for you, as it was for me to hear from somebody that we both know, is people who send out negative like that are not happy people.
No.
They're not successful people.
No.
Like, there's no guy kicking ass somewhere going, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to step on this guy's dick about his song. It's like, they don't have time for that.
The funniest thing that I got told by John Mayer said to me once was, these are all, like, when two dogs meet each other and they do like a butt sniff or whatever?
No, I didn't know that.
Well, when two dogs meet each other, they sniff each other's butts.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
It's like that. That's basically what people do on the internet all the time, where they're like, "Oh, that thing you're doing is lame." And when the minute
that
you're like,
so John Mayer for me, like
it is totally. It's a total Mayerism, but like you know what I'm
is.
saying? Like it's the butt sniff is when people do that. Like when people are like, "That thing's lame," and you're like, "Well, I'm doing it. It's awesome," and they're like, "Fuck, I wish I was in Train." damn it. You know what I'm saying? Because like that's what it is, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's like the thing you're doing so lame. Damn it. Fuck.
Yeah, how come they're able to?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to finish up with these last things, and then you can head back into the city. And I got to tell you a couple places that you got to get a fish sandwich.
Fish sandwich. I back it.
Yeah, there's some great stuff. So one thing is there a song that you wish you wouldn't have been a part of, and then a song that is out there right now that you wish you would have been a part of?
I feel like I wish, you know, there's no songs that I wish I wouldn't be a part of because they all, in some ways, writing the wrong song like helps you write the right song, you know? And so, there's ones that I guess that people are like more attached to that I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, like that's, you know, like it's like people holding on to like a picture of you where you had like braces and you were fat. You're like, you know, like I know that existed, but like maybe let's
Be
not
that
like
guy.
let's maybe not like make the poster of that picture. And then, dude, I swear to God, and this you're gonna think that I would say this in any interview. I think "Soul Sister" is a song that like anybody who's a musician who doesn't say they wish they'd been a part of it. It's just
cool,
one of
man.
those ones
Thanks.
that like taps that zeitgeist. The one that like for a little bit I would like think I was hearing Soul Sister and I wasn't really like it wasn't even on or something. Like I'm like, is there like a TV, like a Samsung commercial or something? But like it was like that song was so present that I heard it at times when it would like, you know, it wasn't even on, like it wasn't even on.
Yeah,
or
that's
whatever.
cool.
So, but I think that
Well,
that's
I appreciate that. I think that I think you got a lot of those. Is there something that somebody said that got you here? Whether it was like, dude, don't bother with this shit. You suck at whatever, or something that people like your parents were like, man, you got to go do this. Like, there's always like some moment in all of our lives that kind of was when you stepped over the line and went, I'm going.
Yeah, I there was a point where where we were doing like I was doing like 40 hours of school, college, and like 30 or 40 hours a week of band stuff, you know, or whatever, at the same time. And
Wow, man, that's
because like my
and
parents,
plus you were probably drinking a lot.
I don't think I even drank at that point
Really?
in my life. No.
Well, that's terrible.
And my parents came out to a show. We played the Metro in Chicago. And,
Love that place.
Yeah, and I'd like somehow, for some reason, like because we were like whatever, I don't know. I feel weird saying this, but like I'd blown up like a 8-foot balloon dildo or something.
Oh,
you know,
great.
whatever, or you know whatever. And I sorry.
To my daughter, I
She's
just
not
want to
even
say,
paying
honey, a dildo is a stuffed animal.
Yes. And and my parents were sitting in the balcony, and I threw this balloon at
Yeah.
my mom, and
Oh.
I remember her like stomping it, and you know whatever. It's just such a wild, like talk about prank week, you know.
Wow.
And
That's awesome.
And after that show, like my parents were like I could tell it was that moment when they were like, oh, we could put like a bumper sticker of like not like my kid's like an A student, like my kid's
Right.
in Fall Out Boy or whatever. And like that was a cool thing because it was like them kind of being like, oh, you can take your like year to do this thing, and like I've been doing that year for the past like 12 years. So
Right. I think that's great, man. You know, it sounds like there are two ways to get to a place here because we're born artists on some level. Like I feel much less of an artist than you because I think you change culture. I think I look at things a little bit differently, but I feel like I'm in the category, but just not as big a presence. And I don't mind. I like what you're doing.
I feel like we're all part of the same like art army, and everybody has different.
Yeah.
Everybody has like, you know, like
Yeah.
we need Jay-Z's and we need Train and we need Fall Out Boy and we need
Yeah, the
Kanye
whole-
West. They're all just different things, you
Yeah.
know. And for me, because I think about that all the time. I'm like, I'm never gonna be a Pitchfork band. I'm not like it's just not what it is.
Right.
But I remember listening to Dookie by Green Day, and because of Dookie by Green Day, I discovered The Descendants and Screeching Weasel and like all these bands that I wouldn't have found otherwise. And I think so and on some level you can be like a gateway drug for people to find, you know, like because you
I didn't
find
realize how present Green Day was to your generation. Like all these bands are like, man, that that record, Dookie, was my record.
I remember seeing the Basket Case video and being like, oh, wow. It's like not weird that I'm like this guy in high school.
Oh, cool.
Or whatever.
Well, it is, and it was.
It was super weird.
But it just seems like artists like need either a very supportive family or a very unsupportive family.
Totally.
Like one way or another, you're going to get there, but those seem to be the two variations of what you get. There's really rarely a middle ground. But Pete Wentz, thanks, man. You're an awesome individual. You're doing great things for the world. And as Gautier said when he got his Grammy this year, thank you for giving such a great gift to this world, because we need it so bad, you know?
Oh, nice.
So,
That's awesome.
So awesome. I'll see you tonight while you're on stage throwing dildos at people's moms.
All right, that was Pete Wentz. Man, I love that guy. I'm sure you all do, but when you're with him in a room, you get to realize that he's a special soul. Sometimes the soul comes out, and sometimes just a personality. But this guy's he runs it deep. So glad that he got a chance to come over, and hopefully I'll get to do a podcast with him and Patrick together, or the whole Fall Out Boy gang, and that'd be a lot of fun for me to sing one of their songs with them, and then hear one of their new songs as well. Check out Save Rock and Roll, the single Alone Together, the EP Pax Am Days. FalloutBoy.com is where you can find them. If you want to talk to us, you go to @Patcast Podcast on Twitter, Patcast on iTunes, patcast.com, and I'll see you next week.